Right, so the Casey report, commissioned following the murder of Sarah Everard to investigate the Met Police, has just concluded, with Baroness Louise Casey's 363-page report finding the force to be institutionally racist, homophobic, and women-hating. When that's the conclusion, what else should be done other than to scrap it entirely and start again? I mean, that's damning stuff, isn't it? Aside from Baroness Casey's findings, it needs remembering that we've been here already. We've been here before, more than 20 years ago. The Met was investigated then in the McPherson report. That was conducted back in 1999, and that was done following the 1993 murder of Stephen Lawrence and the failures by the Met Police at that time. They also concluded that the Met was institutionally racist. Why was nothing done about the force then? Instead, all these years later, we're told nothing has changed in this latest report. But why would it when there was no follow-up from McPherson? Slap on the wrist, told off, carry on. Is there any indication the Met is set to change now? It wasn't before, so why should we think otherwise now? The Met Police Commissioner, Mark Rowley, was interviewed this morning on the media rounds and asked if he accepted the findings in this Casey report. And he said, of course we accept the findings. When he was pushed if he accepted them in full, however, he just repeated that we accept the findings. Now, despite saying that, though, Rowley refuses to accept the term institutional when it comes to the issue of racism in his police force because he thinks the term is too political, preferring the word systemic instead. My God, man! You're quibbling over terminology when you've got a massive bloody problem here to fix, and you're hand-wringing over wording? Come off it! Cressida Dick Mark II, are you? She got made a dame for her part in overseeing all of this failure. You're right, you eyeing up a knighthood for yourself in a year or two or something? Let's tear this apart a bit, because what has been found is disgusting. And if you think this police force is still fit for purpose after this, you need to examine your life choices as much as the Met Police does. These are all actual findings in the report. Britain's largest police force, the Met, are institutionally racist, misogynistic, and homophobic. 22% of those in the force with protected characteristics were bullied. That's more than a fifth of them. And of those staff with disabilities or long-term health issues, that statistic rose to 1 in 3. Almost 1 in 5 lesbian, gay, or bisexual staff members have experienced homophobia from within the force. Female staff routinely experience sexism and misogyny. Female staff have not been protected from police perpetrators of domestic abuse or sexual abuse. There are people in the Met who have got away with racist attitudes and issues of discrimination that have been ignored, and black officers are 81% more likely to be put in the misconduct system at some point than white officers. Predatory behaviour has been allowed to flourish. Concerns raised through disciplinary proceedings were not well recorded, and patterns of behaviour leading up to predatory inclinations being identified never were. The integrity of the organisation remains vulnerable to threat. The Met has a culture of denial. There is a strong tendency to push everything aside and writing things off as being in the past. They take a tick box exercise approach to every problem so that every single problem that comes up not fitting into their criteria ends up more likely to slip through. Hubris has become a serious weakness in the force. Deep-seated cultural issues need to be tackled. A we know best attitude results in a dismissal of criticism. Mark Rowley showed that perfectly on the media rounds today, in my opinion. Not owning their own failures, believing only they understand the demands of their job, therefore nobody else voicing concerns gets it. Speaking up is not welcomed. Keeping your head down and looking the other way is how things are done at the Met. The culture of not speaking out has become so ingrained over so many years, even senior officers were reluctant to speak out. Those who do speak out learn that it can be adverse to their career progression. A system of supporting wrongdoers and not believing complainants has become the norm. There are systematic and fundamental problems in how the Met is run. Evidence fridges were frequently found to be overpacked, and during last summer's heatwave, one freezer broke down, resulting in all the evidence in it having to be destroyed. Management is inadequate, and recruiting and vetting is poor. The Met fails to root out bad officers, tackle mediocre officers, or support good officers. Londoners have been put last, with women and children left behind. The capital no longer has a functional local police service. Public protection has been deprioritised, leaving women and children at greater risk. Child protection services have major inadequacies. There are clear signs of stress and pressure amongst officers. Workloads are unmanageable. Since the McPherson report, the Met has remained largely white and largely male. On current recruitment trajectories, it will take the Met until 2053 to achieve gender balance. It will take until 2061 to achieve the correct ethnic minority representation. Casey could not reassure the public either that there aren't more officers like Wayne Couzens, who murdered Sarah Everard, or serial rapist David Carrick, still on active duty. There is more to this, 363 pages of it, as I said. But worse even than that are the individual stories that have come out of this. A Muslim officer had bacon left in his shoes. A Sikh officer had his beard forcibly trimmed, and another found his turban in a shoebox. Officers were told to delete incriminating WhatsApp messages they should not have been making. A female officer had been repeatedly raped and beaten by a colleague to the point she tried to take her own life. No action was ever taken. A gay officer was bullied by others, accusing him of offering sex to senior officers for favours, to the point he actually became scared of the police himself. A male officer was sexually assaulted in the showers. Female officers would apparently be forced to eat cheesecake until they were sick, and were also moved around to various units depending on which male officers happened to find them attractive. They got referred to as team bikes and got randomly shown pornography. Bags of urine were thrown at cars. Junior officers got urinated on in the showers. Sex toys got put in coffee mugs. One officer managed to get off a domestic abuse charge because he managed to take charge of aspects of his own probe and get it shut down. Casey has recommended the force be abolished if they cannot sort themselves out within the next 5 years. This kind of gives politicians wiggle room to slam the Met at the moment without actually calling for them to be scrapped now. So do bear that in mind when you come across their input on this story on social media or in interviews on the news or whatever. The fact is, the Met have been known to be like this for over 20 years now. They've already had too long, in my opinion, to sort themselves out. There's been no pressure on them to do so. They are not fit for purpose. They're failing in their most basic duties of public protection. Scrap them now. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this video, please do hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below. And I'll see you next time. Cheers, folks.